How close will this NBA Finals be? What are the keys for both teams? Will LeBron be able to outdo himself from last year? The only question left is, say it with me, you in? Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown Podcast. It is a special Memorial Day weekend episode, and we're doing it on a Tuesday with, as always, Coach Dave Dufour. Dave, we've had a chance to have a nice few days off to recover and to relax and think about this finals.
Yeah, I enjoy some wine.
Yeah.
The very important stuff. And I'm already tired of thinking about the finals. I'm ready for the games.
Are you a red wine guy or a white?
Red wine, yeah. I'm not a big sugar guy, so I don't like it sweet. I like a nice full-bodied Tempraneos. I'm a sucker for those, so yeah.
Nice. Yeah, me too. So I hear you.
I love
nice,
Barolos,
steak and red wine are the two very fine things to have together. Yeah. Well, okay, so we're here now. We're embarking on the week of the finals, but yet we still have a couple days before the first game. I just dropped a video today that was people are watching about the top three keys, the top three keys why the Golden State Warriors will not blow a 3-1 lead. I couldn't resist trolling some people out there, and some people didn't get it. They thought they're like, why do you assume they're going to be up by 3-1? And that wasn't the point, right? I think they missed the point.
Right. I think they must have missed what you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So, let's get to it.
Should we get this out of the way right off the top of the show?
Let it out.
Do you have a prediction?
Yeah.
Everyone knows mine. It's the same thing I've been saying for months.
Well, how many games?
4. Warriors sweep.
Okay. The problem you have there is, because I've been saying Warriors in 6. A, because it's LeBron. B, because the league doesn't want to have anything. They don't make money if it doesn't go at least 6, and so things.
Okay, Aisha Curry.
But yeah, I didn't want to have to litigate like the last two finals either to discuss, because everyone wants to sort of throw all that information into there when nothing really compares to the last.
They're different teams. Yeah, they're completely different teams. The Cavs are, to me, are a little bit better right now than they were last year, at least individually. Like, I think LeBron's playing better. Kyrie might be the only guy who's not playing better. Kevin Love has been great the whole playoffs. Tristan Thompson's been really good. Maybe J.R. Smith isn't as good as he was last year. He's not playing as well. But I think that, LeBron, the top heavy, LeBron, Kevin Love, how good they're playing, I think that has brought the whole team up. So yeah, they're totally different teams. It's hard to, look back at the last 2 years and take anything out of that.
Sure, and Derek, and Kevin Love has been playing we've talked a little bit. He's been playing better defense a little bit. Certainly not pick and roll defense, I don't think, but certainly the rotationally he's been better and seemingly more willing to communicate and move and help. When we're looking at offensively, through the playoffs this year, he's averaging 17 points a game, a little over 10 rebounds, and he's shooting 46% from the field, but he's killing it from 3, 48%, and most of those are probably wide open. He's just getting those whip passes across the court for wide open shots, so which is fine. He's an elite 3-point shooter. So what is it about him and his attack that's been his go-to in the playoffs so far?
He's been using this really nice pump fake side step back, and I swear it seems like he's hitting every single one of those. It's been amazing. Now, is that going to work against the Warriors? I don't know. I think they might be too long, and I'm sure that they've got it scouted out by now. This is the other thing, with this huge amount of downtime, the Warriors haven't played a game. By the time the finals come around, it's 9 games? I just don't know. We might wind up with one of those boring 15-round boxing matches for the first game. I don't know what to expect anymore. It's just been too long.
Right. And we already saw what happened in Game 1 with the Warriors against the Spurs with that long layoff where they were just, they didn't look good at all. And, by the way, Kawhi not getting hurt and then winning that first game changes that whole series in a very profound way. But at the very least, it's possible we can expect them to be rusty and a little bit off and not have a lot of great rhythm. As far as the Cavs, again, you could easily have a half of basketball that would be pretty ugly.
Yeah, I still think the Warriors are going to sweep. I've been saying sweep just because it's more interesting than saying Warriors in 5. I think a 4 or 5 game series with the Warriors winning is more likely than a 7 game series. And, I don't know. It seems like this, like I'm going for a hot take when I say a Warriors sweep. But the reality is it's just more interesting to say than 4 or 5 games. This first game may be a game that we can just throw out. It may not be, demonstrative at all when trying to figure out what's going to happen for the rest of the series. And again, I mean, what is it, 9-10 days for the Warriors, and then the Cavs have been done, I guess it's a week, right?
Yeah.
Or is it 6 days or something? I don't know. It's too much time off. Like, it's bad because when you go on Twitter, all your favorite basketball people are talking about Lion King.
Right. Or they're feeding giraffes.
Right, exactly.
That is very true. It's weird. It's very weird to have this much time in what would arguably be the middle of the season. Like, the season's still going on, and we never get that much time. Even that extended All-Star break isn't like this long. So it is time. And I think that the interesting thing is certainly from a talent perspective, no one is going to, even if, let's say the Cavaliers win, it's not going to be like anybody who wants to do those hot takes exposed and try and find everyone predicting that the Warriors are going to win. Like, it doesn't, even if it doesn't happen, no one is crazy for trying to predict that the Warriors are going to win or win easily in this series.
Right. I mean, they've been the odds-on favorites since last year. They're putting together the best 3-year stretch in NBA history. They've been really, really good. They're supposed to win, right? Me saying that they're going to sweep, that's kind of like, it's almost a boring choice. That's just what I think is going to happen. So it's I don't know. I think that them not winning is a huge disappointment, and that's something else that like maybe we should talk about a little bit. Like, what does it mean in the grand scheme of things if the Warriors don't win the title this year? Like, do you wind up with this? Do they kind of start looking at their pieces? Maybe Klay Thompson gets moved. I don't know. I think a lot of it depends on why they lose, and I think the path to victory for the Cavs is for sure Tristan Thompson playing huge, right? Like we both agree there, right? It's all about him on the boards, right?
It's a great question because I was kind of looking at what the keys are for the Warriors, and in my mind, as far as the Cavaliers go, he is sort of that, but he's not the number one X factor that I would pick. Would you like to know what that is?
Who's your guy? Yeah,
I think it's KYRIE. I don't think that they're worried about LeBron. They've got plenty of guys to guard him and make him work and probably be somewhat inefficient or
he's
whatever.
Still going to do his thing.
Yeah, and that's and the more of his thing that he does, the better the Warriors are because if he's just scoring a lot, then he's not setting his team up and creating easy shots. So I don't think they're worried about LeBron, and I think Kevin Love is a guy who they can probably handle as well. So you're right, Tristan Thompson's going to create extra possessions, and that's going to be big for them. They're going to need them, but I feel like KYRIE is the guy that can not only have those quarters like he did against the Celtics, with 21 points and just go off and like that can win a game for you. And he every once in a while he makes a timely defensive play that it's a really good low key thing. So I would put him above Thompson. And one thing you should put above everybody when buying tickets is the SeatGeek app. Download it now and you'll be on a 3-on-0 fast break, saving time and money for all of your sporting event and concert needs. Each ticket has a grade, so you'll immediately know if your seats are like a wide-open corner 3 or a contested 22-footer. Each purchase is fully guaranteed, kind of like my Warriors in 6 prediction, and you can also get tickets to comedy shows and the theater. Best of all, use my code CoachNick, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. So it's just like KYRIE showed up to run with your 5 in pickup. You'll be holding court with SeatGeek and my promo code CoachNick, and that's why KYRIE is the key to the Cavs' success.
As far as being important to them winning games.
Yes. So I kind of
Okay.
hijacked your whole take. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no, that's okay. That's okay. Now, so for the Warriors, what I'm kind of concerned about is Andre Iguodala's health. If he is going to be the 70% that we just saw, for the last month or whatever it was, with this knee injury, I don't know if his back is bugging him again or what, but if he's the 70% of Andre Iguodala, that's shooting 11% on threes in the playoffs, that is going to be troublesome. I don't think Patrick McCaw is ready to jump in there.
Yeah, but if you're talking about like what do they need him for to guard LeBron, right? You go Durant, you go Draymond, you go you could go Livingston a little bit. You can go Klay Thompson. I'm sorry, Klay before Livingston. They got 3-4 guys already independent of Iguodala that could do that, serviceably enough. So I don't know. I mean, and by the way, it's a rare thing. Like no other team has anybody that can guard LeBron, and now you have the Warriors who have multiple players who can make him work. So I don't know. I mean, okay, let's just say that's one of them as a concern. And the bench is another concern. Now McCaw is playing very well, and like he's slowly making them forget about Iguodala, and they're not going to worry about that contract for too long if they develop this. And now is Iguodala have one more year left on his contract?
No, he's a free agent this summer.
Okay, good. So they can let him go and then to keep developing McCaw.
Yeah, but they have his bird rights, so it's just money costs to keep him on the team, right? Like it's not like a cap issue, so they'll re-sign him. They'll keep, well, and I imagine they'll re-sign him probably at the mid-level or something like that. I mean, he won't make as much as he's making now, but I imagine they'll keep him and probably find a way to keep Livingston as well. The problem is that, especially for Livingston, is that teams are going to come with some cash for him because, he could be a starting point guard for maybe 10 other teams.
Right. I could see that, and I guess what you're also saying is then there really isn't a big market for Iguodala either, which is probably right. He's kind of breaking down at the end of his career. He's got issues shooting that in this day and age, that position you'd want someone who could shoot better. So, by the way, it's really too bad because I honestly believe I think we mentioned it before. I honestly believe he could fix his shooting issues with just somebody who knows what they're talking about working with him.
Right, yeah. Okay, so just sort of to the specifics of the game. So the Warriors started small in Game 4. I mean, they started basically like Durant, jumped the jump ball. How would you feel if the Warriors started this small lineup for Game 1? Would you start that way? Maybe start McCaw instead of Iggy in that that wing role. And just try to get a big lead early. Would you do that, or do you think that's
so not starting Zaza or JaVale? You're saying
right?
Draymond at center, basically.
Yeah, Draymond at center lineup.
Draymond, KD,
McCaw, yeah,
and then Klay and Steph. Well, that's interesting. I mean, the one thing that I'm sure would concern them to some degree is when they have Thompson and Love in there is rebounding, and so. But then again, Draymond can handle that. And in theory, KD is the guy. He's the real interesting question here because he doesn't really like to mix it up down there. He doesn't really like to get down and dirty, boxing out. He can out-quick you, and he's so long, he can grab those rebounds. But, I could see that being an area where Kevin Love can kind of pin him, get his body all over him, and make it really hard for him to jump and cause some havoc there. I would be surprised if they radically did that. Also because McCaw is just an unknown quantity. He's never played in the finals.
Sure.
That's a really tough burden. I would love, I love that kind of stuff, and you could probably afford to get away with it for a few minutes to give him the experience. But, so I doubt it. Remind me, is Zaza's healthy now, right?
Yeah, I think so. He had the heel contusion, which is why he sat out those games against the Spurs. But, for me, it was, the Spurs were starting with Powell and LaMarcus, and the Warriors started with that small lineup, and the game was done. Yeah. Before they made the first substitution, the game was over.
And I just think the Globetrotters playing.
Absolutely. And I just think that could be – and this was what we wanted them to do last year in Game 7 or Game 6, is to go ahead, start the death lineup. Not we, me and you, but we like the royal we. Why don't you just start your best lineup and roll it out there for 30 minutes instead of the 12 minutes or whatever they were playing it. And, there's something to be said for, you don't want to overuse your best lineups because you don't want to expose weaknesses. But if it's rolling like it is, I mean, the Hamptons 5 with McCaw in there instead of Iguodala has been fantastic for the last couple months. I mean, it's been really, really good. So I would love to see them just be bold. That's something that the Warriors, I don't think, have done enough of with their lineups. And I mean, to their credit, it has worked for them. I mean, Steve Kerr has been very conservative, but very conventional, which is so funny to say about a guy who unlocked the team's full potential by playing a 6'6" center.
Right.
But the Anderson Varejao minutes, the Zaza minutes, the David West minutes, all of these things, I just think, why not be bold? Why not try something that has a higher upside? I mean, you know what you're going to get with that lineup with Zaza out there, and I think that you don't necessarily know what you're going to get with the smaller lineup, and I would love to see them be bold just right off the bat.
Right. I mean, and I think you're kind of answering your question because you don't know what you're going to get, and that's a scary proposition to be screwing around with, having gone the whole season to develop that. And you mentioned like 30 minutes, just so we had the handle on like 5-man lineups. At the most, they play maybe 20 minutes per game, and that's what Cleveland has on their most played lineup is 20. And then you look at the lineup, data for the Warriors. And like the highest any of their teams, any of their five-man lineups players, like maybe like 7 minutes in a game. So they're like quote unquote bold in that way, where they're just running it out. Now the only problem with that is that half of the time they're up by 20, in these playoffs, right? It's like they haven't been close. So it's and that's just the playoffs I'm looking at. So it's like it's hard. They're not tested. That's the one thing. They really haven't been pushed enough. They've had a couple games where they've had to push themselves, and at least with the Cavaliers. They lost one. They got pushed by the Pacers, believe it or not. They had some moments there where they really had a gun to get back in those games. So that's the other issue. It's like we don't really know what we're getting here with the Warriors. We don't know if that first game is going to be a smack in the face to them. But we do know that using Harry's razors is the opposite of a smack in the face. It's the best shave you'll ever have. If you haven't seen my Michael Jordan versus LeBron video, check it out because you'll see me in action using their razors. German-crafted blades with a flex hinge lubricating strip, and the most you'll pay is $2 per blade, which is about half the price of other brands. I've already gotten their limited edition Father's Day shave set for my pops, which comes with a chrome razor stand, foaming shave gel, 3 replacement blades, and a travel cover. It also comes in a sleek giftable box with an option to add custom engraving and a personalized gift card for free. I mean, come on, it's the mother of all Father's Day gifts. And you'll get $5 off when you go to harrys.com/CoachNick. Their shave sets start at just $15, so imagine the savings by using my link at harrys.com/CoachNick. And the next time you shave, think Harry's, since your shave will be as smooth as the Warriors against their Western Conference playoff foes this year.
Yeah, that's the number one thing that has been coming up in conversations that I've had in the last 2 weeks. The Warriors haven't been tested at all. At all. I mean, the game 1 against the Spurs was the closest that they had. And I still think, I don't know that necessarily they would have won the game, but I still think they would have made the run to get it close. I think Kawhi probably, makes a difference and keeps the Spurs winning, makes the Spurs win that game. But they still would have made a run, and it would have been a tighter game than what it looked like it was going to be. And so, but they really haven't had a single time where they look like they were sweating. And, the joy has kind of come back. And I think that was something that they sort of missed toward the, when they had to come back from 3-1 last year against OKC, they were pressing. The full weight of 73 wins started to really wear on them. And I think we saw that come to fruition in the finals when they lost Draymond. They were up 3-1, lost Draymond, and he is the what have we called him? We've called him the engine of the team. We've called him the most important player, the heart, whatever you want to say. He is the guy that really sets the tone for the team. He sets the tone for the offense, sets the tone for the defense. He does so much for him, and without him, they looked lost. And then they took that whole game 6. They struggled. It took them the whole game. I mean, it was a tight game, but they never looked like the world beaters that they did in the first 4 games. And then in Game 7, I mean, we all know what happened there at the end of the game. They didn't trust the process, so to speak. So, I think that, and you and I talked about this a lot this year around January, February. When was it? KD was out for the whole month of March. It was March. About the fact that last season, the 73-win season, they didn't have a lot of adversity. This year, they actually had quite a bit. They had some internal turmoil. They had the KD injury where then they really flipped a switch. And I want to say in like the last 125 days, they've lost one game, and that was when they rested starters.
Yeah. Since
Klay Thompson signed that toaster at the post-game thing, they're like 27-1 or something, or 28-1. It's insane. They're just on such a run right now, and I think that they were tested and they got through it. Now, is the playoffs a different test? I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, it is, but okay. So, like, what makes them so good, and why are we all so convinced that they are going to win? And I mean, I'm being very conservative saying 6 games because it doesn't really feel like it should be that close. And again, the Cleveland Cavaliers fans are going to be really mad because we're going to point out that their defense still isn't really a championship level. But that's when you couch it in those terms, I almost feel like everyone would say, yeah, I hear you. They're not championship level. They're not playing at this like elite defensive level. They've gotten by. They're a really good scoring team, right? And they played some teams that are shitty, that they don't score well. It's really frustrating, And like I showed in my video today, they held the Cavaliers to 6 points less in their offensive rating. So it looks like, oh, wow, they really did a great job. But I think they were averaging like 7 or 8 or maybe even more wide open shots per game that they were missing.
The Celtics.
Yeah, because I went through all their unguarded on Synergy, all their unguarded jump shots.
Right.
And it was something like in the 5-game series, it was like at least 50 that were misses. So it's like, Avery Bradley over and over again, and Al Horford. And then the argument is, they want him to shoot. They were leaving him open. I don't think you want to leave Avery Bradley open. He proved that he was a 39% 3-point shooter, and I didn't see that as a conscious decision. It looked like they just got stuck and they didn't rotate well. They didn't see what was going on, and he got those shots. He just couldn't knock them down.
Yeah, and the Warriors, you would think, are going to hit those shots.
That's not Avery Bradley. That's Klay Thompson. That's right. Steph Curry. Draymond Green is close to 50% from 3 this year.
He's like 47%. Yeah, I mean his shot has looked so much better in the last month. And
right.
I mean he's really improved his legs on his shot. He's not using them too much, which I don't know if that's a little basketball nerd technical stuff there, but like this is fixed his shot.
That is not even like that is exactly what he's not doing. He is not overbending and not doing the whole what I would call the catapult, and the rhythm is much better, and he's able to transfer the energy a lot better. I think he thought coming in it was a deep shot, so I really got to use your legs. And again, that's an old school mentality that I'm sure like Izzo probably subscribes to, who's been there for a long time, and when in reality, you don't need as big of a jump. You just need a better transfer of the energy from the jump, which is basically like a jump rope. That's all you need, that kind of height. And I don't know if he's even necessarily that completely aware of it, but it's working.
He's on a roll.
I don't think he's on it. He hopefully he won't change it because I mean, hey, I like to see guys figure something out and actually keep doing it.
Yeah, and then the other thing with the Warriors is the Warriors can actually attack in transition, which no one in the East was able to do, and the Cavs are horrific in transition defense. So this coupled with the fact that the Warriors are the best defensive team in the league, is why I'm at where I'm at, where it's Warriors in 4.
Right, and like Durant's going to get a rebound and then take off on the court. And there's 3 guys in the league that are as dangerous as him doing that, maybe. And when they played in the regular season, you saw a number of times where he just took off and like either Shumpert had to pick him up because in transition they were just slow getting back, And if that's supposed to be like Love's duty, like here's the thing, Love might end up having to match up on Durant a bit out there. That's the key. They could force that matchup, then Love won't be able to stay on the floor very long, in my mind.
Yeah, and I expect to see a lot of the Love at center lineups, but the problem there is, I mean, were you going to try to match him up against JaVale? I don't think that's going to be good. And I I don't know. I just don't see a path to the Cavs winning. And like, I hope we get a competitive 7-game series.
Right.
And I hope it comes down to the wire and we get overtime a lot. Like that's what I want. My prediction, and I think so often with what we do, people think that we have some sort of bias or whatever. No, it's just me looking at the information, and this is where I've arrived. And I've arrived. I think the Warriors. There's nothing that tells me the Warriors are not going to sweep this series as well. We'll have our first 16-0, champion. It's bound to happen at some point. And I think, why not the best team ever assembled as far as talent goes? We've never had a team with this much talent on it.
Right. But here's the key. I mean, you can argue that there have been some super teams around, even like the Sixers against that loss to the Blazers. But like they had Dr. J and George McGinnis and Daryl Dawkins. I mean, there was some serious talent on that team. But Doug Collins was on that team. But the thing with that was they didn't play like a team. They were ISO, very much like maybe like the original Miami Heat team, that first team when they got together. And so this is what's different to me is that they actually the offense is so devastatingly devastating. It moves the ball. I mean they do ISO when they need to, but it certainly has so much flow to the offense, and that's what's so violently it's hard to deal with. You can't defend that.
And this is exactly why I don't think. When people keep bringing up the 2011 Heat, this is exactly why I disagree with that opinion, because of how they move the ball, because of the way they play. They don't just take turns with the basketball.
Right.
I don't think there's going to be a huge struggle for who's taking the final shot in a close game.
Right.
I don't think that's a thing.
Yeah, and the other reason why it's not the same is that almost everybody has been playing together for several years, except for KD. Whereas they all were kind of new to each other that year, and no one had figured out who was going to do what. At the and by the way, and even still, Kevin Durant's been so seamless with his trends. A couple bumps here and there, figuring some stuff out. In fact, the first Cleveland game was one of those bumps. But he's been so seamless in understanding how to attack on the catch and move in their offense, and I'm sure he must feel really good about the decision. This is exactly what he wanted to do, and who knows if he stayed in OKC, they might have been able to make a run. I mean, they certainly could have gotten the Western Conference Finals without question.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And then and who knows? They can make a run to the final. They could have done it, but it almost feels like kind of like how the Cleveland Cavaliers locker room was unhappy and they got rid of Blatt because of it, because they weren't having fun. Well, this is the same thing. This is Durant having fun and just elevating the game. And this is going to set the tone for offensive basketball, for trickling down to every level for forever.
You mean that people aren't going to go to the LeVar Ball offense?
No,
come on now.
Well, are you saying
leaking out and just pull up
the LaMelo
35 footers that don't hit anything?
Yeah.
Anyway,
did you see that edit that I posted?
I saw it.
I kind of felt bad because the kid's young, but he definitely has that too cool for school attitude that I've seen a lot of young promising players have, and who end up sort of fizzling out because they just don't give out enough.
Yeah, I you know what? I've talked already more about LaMelo Ball than I care to admit. But here's our last point before we wrap this up. I would like to talk about, and we did just talk about him for a couple seconds there, but I don't think we've talked about him in this capacity. But Kevin Durant is possibly the second best player in the league, maybe third, right? He's one of the three best players in the league, and he sort of feels like an afterthought in this series to a lot of people. For me, I think this series is where, if you're Golden State, this is why you brought him in.
Yeah. Because
if the Cavs are any good and they start disrupting the system, you've got the system. You've got the personal system of Kevin Durant. You can just give him the basketball and let him work. And this is what the Warriors haven't had the last 2 years. They didn't have it last year, which is why I think a huge reason why they lost the finals. They didn't have a guy that they could just say, "Hey, go to work, put him on the block." I mean, you and I have talked a lot about. I mean, he's scoring like 1.2 points per post-up possession, which is just obscene. I mean, unheard of. And so, yeah, who's going to guard him down there? If you send the double, something that he's been doing incredibly well for the last couple months, when he feels the double coming, he's finding open shooters. He's totally unlocked this new thing in his game, and I just think that makes the Warriors completely unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, and then you combine that with the fact that they really don't have anybody in Cleveland to guard him. I mean, the only guy you can say is LeBron, and LeBron hasn't done that well, honestly, against him recently. And I don't see that changing. In fact, I don't even see LeBron guarding him that much. And I wish they would. I can't wait to see that matchup. But they're saving Richard Jefferson. Well, during the regular season, at least, it was embarrassing that Richard Jefferson has no hope of stopping him, none, as far as I could tell. And then
that's a disaster.
It's like JR or Shumpert. Like none of those guys are going to be able to do much against him. You can't rough him up either because he'll get to the free throw line. He's going to get those star calls, and then on the top of that, he can guard LeBron, and he can guard him well, and then he can guard Kevin Love. He can
guard just about everybody on the court that isn't Tristan Thompson, but Tristan Thompson's not really a threat. So,
yeah,
Anyway, I'm excited to see this first game, and I'm excited to see how it goes. But I'm not expecting a competitive series. What I am expecting is a lot of, hand wringing on the internet about how the NBA has been ruined by Kevin Durant, improving his situation in life, and how it's his fault, and he should care that other teams are competitive and all this stuff. And meanwhile, ratings are up, and everyone's making more money. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know what to make of it because it's like, listen, from our perspective, it is a joy to watch when they play that way. And whatever you want to call me about the Warriors, it's like, of course, from a coach's perspective, that's how teams should play. And so, on one respect, I feel like yes, that will be the basis for how everyone builds their teams or wants to play, right? High school on up or whatever that is. That's what we want to play that way. So that's great. But you're right. For the next, 4 years. It could very well be a moot point, barring injuries. They would be the heavy favorites, I'd imagine, each year going in. And again, they're picking up guys like McCaw, who, for as far as I could tell, is going to be the next Iguodala better because he's a better shooter than Iguodala will be. Ian Clark has developed. I don't know if he might leave too, but you know what I mean. If they can keep plugging these guys in,
good.
Who is?
Damian Jones looks good.
Yeah. JaVale McGee.
Right.
Has come in this playoffs really hyper-focused and should take the starting job from Zaza next year if he continues in the finals. So, and that dude's not even 30.
Yeah.
So, it's crazy.
Off the scrap heap.
Yeah. Well, speaking of scrappy, you and I guess, I don't know, we're both scrappy as well, I suppose. We're certainly scrappy with our analysis of what's going on in this finals, but we got lots to go on. I got a video coming up actually about the Cavaliers, their top 3 keys to winning the series, which is probably going to be, touch upon the things we talked about today a little bit. But we're going to certainly do some live shows, right? We'll do some periscoping post-game.
Mm-hmm.
And
first one will be Thursday night.
Yeah, so Thursday night, because then I'm going to want to get on these breakdowns. I was so excited that my Game 3 breakdown from the Celtics Cavaliers did so well. I'm raring to go, do some more game breakdowns, old school, getting back to my roots, epic ones. So we'll have a lot of we're going to cover the crap out of these finals. It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, we're going to be all over the place. So,
yep. Well, we'll have to try and stay focused even though we're all over the place. And thank you for coming on the show today, Dave, and breaking some stuff down with us. I think we made some headway. We solved some problems.
Yeah, I hope. I don't know. I think we more than anything, I think we just unpacked things that we've been saying over the course. This was almost like a best of episode. This is all stuff that we've said over the course of the last few months. It feels like a month since we've had any basketball, so that's a big part of this.
All right, let's get it on and catch us everywhere. You can find us on Periscope, Twitter, here, and YouTube, and everywhere else. So thanks for coming on the show today, Dave, and don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Dave?
Yes, I am.